Here's our next problem. It's very similar to one I worked out in my book. I changed this to a plus from my book. But this type of problem I'm going to show you is, there aren't that many of them. There are a few out there, and but I want to make sure I could do one with you. And so I'll explain what I mean as we get through it. First of all, is there a common factor? 1, 10, and 24. There's no common numerical factor. This term has x, that has x, that does not have x. And for that matter, this does not have y. So there's not a common variable factor either. So no greatest common factor involved here. So we try our next step, which is to break it up into binomials. And what would it be? Well, to get x squared, I need x times x. To get y squared, I need y times y. And that's where we get stuck for the moment. But settling the variables is the easy part of this factoring business. And because I have x squared, and then the outer term and the inner term both give me xy terms, and then the last term will be y squared. So the variable part's set. It's the numerical part that we got to be careful with. All right, so to put a number here and here, I need to break up 24. And 24 breaks up as 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. And I think that's all. So there are four possibilities for breaking up the 24. And now in practice you find it'd be unusual to be 1 times 24. All right, if you had a kind of a big number here, that might be the right pair. And so it's more likely 4, 6, 3, 8, or 2, 12. And let's try 4 and 6. It is the most likely pair. All right. So if I try that, and I'm going to work it down below here, and because it turns out, I'm giving it away, but it turns out this one's not going to work. So, but anyway, let's just pretend that we're naive about it, and we're going to try 4 times 6. So in other words, I have 4y and 6y. Okay. Now, the outer terms come to 6xy, and the inner terms come to 4xy. And I want a positive 10xy. So to get a positive 10xy, both of these would have to be pluses, wouldn't they? So I need a plus here and a plus there. All right, so that part's good, isn't it? Because this is going to give us positive 10xy, which is what we meant. Now, if you stop there, then oh, my dog is barking. Hang on. Okay, I'm back, and let's see, where are we at? The so we have 10xy here, but if I were to multiply this out entirely, I would get x squared, which is the outer terms, and then I've got my plus 6xy, and then my plus 4xy, and then my plus 24y squared. And you probably spotted what's wrong with this. And what is wrong? I'm not going to get minus 24y squared here. I got plus 24y squared. So if you don't check your factoring, that would be very easy to overlook. And these come up kind of rarely, this type, where you can get the correct middle term and apparently the correct number here, except that you're off by a negative sign. So that happens, and I wanted to show it to you. And it's another plug for, check your work. So 4 times 6 does not work as a factor. All right. Now we can try 3 and 8. And if I put 3 and 8 here, try to imagine that 3 and 8, I would have 8xy and 3xy. 8 and 3, I can't get 10 out of 8 and 3. And so by either adding or subtracting. And so 3 and 8 don't work. Let's try 2 and 12. And in fact, this one does work. So let me just go ahead and put it up there. Of course, I knew this in advance when I set this problem up. But 2y and 12y. Now, I do have 12xy and 2xy. To get 10, I'm going to have to make one of those a negative. In particular, it's going to have to be the 2. And so, let's see if this works. I'm going to check it. And again, and it does work, but I want to just show this to you, and in case anybody needs a review of multiplying also, this is good for you. Alright, so foiling it out, I've got x squared. And I've got plus 12xy. And then a minus 2xy. And then a minus 24y squared. And when we collect the terms up, I've got x squared. And these end up being 10xy, positive 10xy, and then minus 24y squared. So if you look up above, this matches exactly what we started with. So it's the correct factoring. Incidentally, actually an even more common factoring error is getting the wrong signs. And so if I put a plus 2 and a minus 12 here, I would get negative 24, but I would get a negative 10 instead of a positive 10. And so sign placement is always an issue with these that people screw up. And again, that's why you should check your work. That's only if you want to do well, of course. So, all right, I've got a couple more of my sleeve to show you. So erase the board again and put up a new one.